Hi, welcome to the Hybrid Work Experience Showcase at our Cisco Experience Center. Today we're going to walk you through a couple of scenarios that really bring to life our hybrid work is not just about working from home or in the office, it's really about in between and working from anywhere. And there's 5 key characteristics you're going to see come out as we go through the different environment is that our solution is flexible, right? It is going to adjust to anyone's need, whether you have a big home or a small home, your office is open or has a lot of conference rooms, it's going to adapt to that. And of course, it needs to be inclusive, right? As we're working with people around the world, as well as in different regions, we want to make sure that they are going to get the level of support they need as we are collaborating across time zones. And of course, a lot of these features are going to just make it easier as we're moving across these physical spaces. Of course, it has to be supportive of our mental health. Burnout is a big issue right now. So how do we manage our time working when we can really work from anywhere, right? So we're going to show how both our security solution as well, right? How do we manage as I'm coming back to the office, feeling safe when we are physically moving between these boundaries and in a secure manner, right? Our network has to be secure so that we are extending all of the security tools wherever we're connecting from. And of course, manage has to be easy. From an IT perspective, we don't want to have too many dashboards. We want to have a single place where we can manage both our physical places, our security, as well as our collaboration tools. So we're going to walk you through all of these experiences. We're actually in a home environment right now. So we're starting with an executive home example. It's not going to look like this for everyone, but we thought that this is going to help visualize some of these technology in this own environment. And then we're also going to move to a shared living space as well. And of course, moving into the workplace, we have put in 3 different environments in just a small space to bring out the different options as we're returning to work. Alrighty, so with that, we're going to start working. Let me go ahead and stop sharing the screen because I actually have a meeting on the calendar. So instead of always leveraging my laptop to do everything, we actually have some couches here. This is a great place to extend my home environment. Maybe this is my TV that I already use for lounging and watch my TV's shows and everything else. You see that I have added a RoomKit Mini just right on top. So turning any monitor into a workspace very easily without having to put in a whole big device into my home. And this is perfect for some of those laid back conversation or joining with another colleague with me. I'm used to a smart home environment. So just like the same, we have WebEx Assistant, the AI that's built in. Okay, WebEx, start my meeting.
I found 3 meetings. Which one would you like to join?
Option 3.
Sure thing. Joining now.
And just like that, I use voice to control my room, just like I would for my smart home. Hey, Ricken and Bruce is our persona. How are you doing?
Doing well. Ready to get this meeting started.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're working on a big project with a lot of slides, right? You want to share a little bit about that?
Yep.
Perfect. So as we are working from the office, from home, a lot of times we need to do presentations, right? So this is a great example Ricken already turned on, an immersive share so that we can really be involved inside our presentation as we're presenting from anywhere. You don't have to have a big studio just to have a more interactive session. And in this case, it makes it much more interactive and comes to life almost for a PowerPoint presentation in this case. Thanks, Ricken. I'm actually going to do some work on my desk because for posture, this is definitely not the best way to do it. So now we're actually going to move over to the desk area. And Natal will talk a little bit about the connectivity.
Absolutely. So without connectivity, none of this happens, right? And so as part of our executive home here, we have a sort of a full stack connectivity here where with the Meraki access point, switching to, of course, secure device as well. So in this case here, we have a SASE environment where a single device can offer either broadband connectivity or even cellular connectivity, ultimately providing that secure connectivity from home. So even a lot of our executives have this full stack setup at their home, providing an always-on experience from their home office.
So as I'm sitting at my desk, continuing my work, right? A lot of times when we're working from home, everything is running on my laptop and I have to hunch over, especially when I'm moving between places. So obviously it's important to make sure that our connectivity is seamless, as Natal talked about, extending the VPN into your home just like you would have in the office. But of course, as I'm going on long hours, joining meetings, this is not the best posture, especially if I need to look at small text as well. So one of the things that we are able to do is actually have devices like the Desk Pro and to be able to really sit back and enjoy the experience much better for my well-being. Before I join it on the Desk Pro, I do want to point out that during our meeting, right, we can actually have transcription and translation. And in this case, I turned on a real-time translation of Japanese so that if I am not English as my first language, I can choose the language I am used to view my meeting in, right? So, of course, like I mentioned, we don't want to hunch over here. So I'm going to plug in my laptop so that this becomes my primary monitor, right? So now I can offload all of my meeting onto the device itself and have my spreadsheet turned on and all of that. But of course, if I need to join meetings, is right here. I don't need to always open up my laptop just to join a meeting. I'm going to go ahead again and join the same meeting we're in. And this way I am now running my meeting here. I can sit back and the device has the camera that's going to help me out, whether it's a virtual background or if I'm standing up and taking a break, right? It's going to follow me around. I don't have to shift everything off the table. I'm removing a lot of cables that typically would be on my desk. And with this all-in-one device, it's much easier this way. Okay, so this is one example of executive home. We know that not everyone has a dedicated workspace and private space just to work at home. So we're going to go to the next scenario, which is a shared living space. All right, so this is our shared living space. Welcome to my kitchen. And as you can see, in the shared space, I work with my roommate all the time in the same room. So a lot of the features that we talk about, like noise removal, is very important here. We are really being inclusive and supportive for employees as they don't all have a dedicated workspace. However, I was lucky enough to have a WebEx desk, right? This is going to become our WebEx desk when it's released. In this space, I can bring my meeting in anywhere because I know that a lot of times I need to run projects that have whiteboarding capability. This is a great place to be able to have a whiteboard session very easily. Again, Ricken, we're working together quite often. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. And I'm also going to talk about personal insight in a little bit. How do we manage our experience and our time? But I heard you often eat during a meeting. Is that right?
All the time. But I can get rid of that very easily by turning on noise removal. And so you should only be able to hear me and not the chips.
Yeah, absolutely. When you first grabbed the chip, it was very loud. But once you turn on the noise removal, I could not tell, that's what you're doing, which is great, right? We've got dog barking all the time in the background whenever the delivery come. Even in the office, as I am going back to the office for training, this is where our noise cancellation really shine and make sure that when I'm joining in from home, I don't need to listen into all of the people in the office who might be eating chip bag or so. Ricken, we also have a couple of ideas, and I think it would be good if we can whiteboard it out, right? And that's where this is. Do you have any input around the house that I'm building?
Yeah, I think it'd be better if we added a chimney for us to work against. So let me go ahead and show you exactly where, possibly on that side.
Wonderful. You know what? That's a great idea for what a new home should look like. But looking at the time, I actually do need to go into the office. So what I'm going to do is actually move the call, right? While Ricken is still sharing some of his ideas, I'm going to simply move the call onto my phone so I can take this on the go as I'm driving in. Obviously, when I'm driving, I don't want to, get distracted. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the content right there. So I can just have an audio call as I'm driving in. And I'll be able to move my workflow into the workplace, really being able to have a flexible experience, whether I start it from home or start it from work and coming back home to continue my work. So let's head into the office. So now we're in the workplace. Go ahead and follow me and let's do a tour of the 3 different areas we have. The first one is a hot desking area. We know that as we return to the office, we have the need to have a virtual connection with our colleagues who are working from other places. So the hot desking environment is going to allow us to just simply sit down as we bring our work or our phone into the office, set it down, it charges my phone. Our software is going to recognize that, hey, this is Vicky and her meetings is going to get offloaded here. So I have a green button to join without having to book this ahead of time. Right, and of course we have headsets as well to make sure we're not blasting our calls out in the open, and our camera, which is a nice station where I can really check in as I'm moving into the workspace. Now, if I need to have a little bit more private area to have my one-on-one meetings, or maybe a little bit longer where I don't want to spend my 2-hour meeting out in the open, I also can go find a conference room, right? As I move through the hallways, I can immediately see which rooms are available with our navigators. And if I want to just book it for a couple of hours, I can actually book that for the duration I need of these rooms, and it will reflect back to the map so nobody else will double book it. As well as all of the signage that is throughout the office as well, letting me know what rules I'm supposed to be following as I return to the office. So now we are coming back to the co-collaboration area where I wanted to continue my call, right, that I have started earlier. So let me actually continue my conversation. Again, just by moving the call like I would earlier by moving it down to my phone in the first place before I commute in. And in this case, this is the WebEx board that I can use right before I even join calls. It will tell me again what are the protocols I need to be following as I'm moving into the office. I can see the map that I just booked the room earlier, and of course, in this case, moving the call back into this space as I want to continue working on the whiteboard that we started earlier. Hey Ricken, I made it into the office. Let me just pull up that house drawing, and I see you have added additional design to this, and this is great. I can now continue the work I started from a completely different environment without losing a beat, and I can have everything securely stored in our WebEx app and in the WebEx suite here. So that's how I would move my workflow between these different places. We'll see you later, Ricken. And now I wanted to talk a little bit about how do we manage and support our employees as we are jumping into all of these different projects and meeting. I want to share my screen with you real quick, and this is going to share my personal insight. And this is a insight profile that is only accessible to me as a user. This is not for my manager or IT to really look at, but I can actually look at how many meetings am I scheduling if this is outside of my downtime. Right? A lot of times we hear from our employees is that they're working at all hours. So this gives me a good insight of how much time do I spend in meetings? Do I speak up in these meetings? Are these necessary, right? And these are all insight is valuable to me as an employee to manage my time. Now, taking a step back into a management side of view, right? So now all of our employees are able to move between these spaces in a flexible way. From a IT management perspective as well, I need to maintain connectivity as well as making my workplace smart. So I can actually look at not just wireless connectivity perspective, but also feed in my Meraki camera analytics, right? How many people are actually entering and into these shared spaces? Our conference room has the capability to detect if you are over the capacity. It tells me that I need to move to a larger room. So in some of the shared spaces, this is how we're leveraging the Meraki cameras to give me another insight of the footfall of the people in the space. And of course, we have Meraki cameras as well. I'm actually going to hand it off to Natal to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So like keeping in themes of connectivity, right? So as you know, we've got these cameras deployed here And so jumping into the dashboard, we can create these amazing little alerts, right? So you can see I've highlighted some areas of interest that's going to say, hey, if somebody walks into this area, go ahead and send me that alert. So you create these alerts in that space, then ultimately getting that information back to either your mobile device or take screenshots and then send it to a security team. Here's an example where we can take all of those cameras and put it in a grid view. We're looking at our downstairs lab and of course our data center environment here as well. So being able to get all that visibility into whether it's in a workspace as well as some of these remote locations, right? And it's all about bringing all of those data analytics that these cameras are actually making into the dashboard. As you know, so that was a quick look at our executive home, moving to a shared space, and of course, ultimately bringing that meeting experience all the way into that workspace, right? And then also, how does all of this stuff gets managed, right? So you saw some of the dashboard views from DNA Spaces to, of course, Meraki dashboard as well. I hope that gave you a good example of what the hybrid workspace looks like, and we'll see you soon.